actually do shit. Ken Boggle says, we will destroy the earth way before the earth has a chance. No, we won't, Ken Boggle. We actually will not destroy each other way before the earth has a chance. We don't have to do that. To say that that's written in stone is ridiculous. To say that that's absolute is ridiculous, because I believe in humanity a lot more than you, apparently, and that's not true. It's simply not true. And the earth actually is doing it already. You're saying the earth doesn't have a chance. It already is doing it already. The earth is already destroying itself. The earth is already fighting back. And in 50 years from now, when your grandchildren, if you have any, or you and I, if we're still alive, are living in bubbles and stuff, I'll say I told you so. Anyway, so I don't think that video games and violence actually, violence in video games causes any kid to do shit. I think that kids have their own ideas about things, and they see shit all the time on TV and movies. Violence is everywhere, and violence is something that's revered in our culture. They would rather see two people fucking kill each other than two gay guys kiss. So, I mean, it's more socially tolerant to actually see that than it is to see, two guys kissing or something. So we have really skewed values in this country based on what is and isn't, based on what is and isn't right. And so violence is something that's somewhat revered in this country. I think that the violence that we experience, these kids experience or whatever, in video games is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket to what they see every fucking day on the news, to what they see in their everyday lives. It doesn't do shit to them. So I certainly don't believe that video games cause anybody to be violent. I've played many violent video games like Call of Duty or whatever and things like that. I've never played that game. What's that game called? Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. I've never played that, and that's been in the news lately because people are saying that it causes people to be, evil or whatever. I think that, it's ridiculous to say that people are going to go out and fucking kill people because a video game, you do it in a video game. I have played many of shoot 'em up killer video games. I've never gone out and shot anybody. Come on, give me a fucking break. I don't agree with that. That's what they're saying in the chat room. David says, I think that they make dumber kids because they spend more time on these games rather than schoolwork. I agree with that too. I mean, that's not the question, but I agree with that sentiment very much. So I think that kids today, well, actually, we'll talk about that next. Let me read Ken's statement. Ken says, violent video games desensitize children. I believe that video games do promote violence. They aren't watching the news. They are too busy blowing up people on their computer. Well, the question wasn't whether... I don't think the question was, the question wasn't that they necessarily promote violence as much as they contribute to youth violence. But if that's what you mean within real life, yeah. I mean, I think that I agree that they do that, but they don't cause people to be to go out and murder people is what I'm trying to get at here. I don't think they cause people to go out and kill people because they see it in a video game. They can see it on a movie. They can see it on TV. It doesn't do shit. So I don't agree with that at all. GTA, what's that? Grand Theft Auto. Okay. I play Grand Theft Auto and I use it to relax by killing people all over the city. I love it. I love that. That's hilarious. Yeah, I've never played it, but now I'm all intrigued by it because I've been hearing about it. It's they're on the 5th edition of it now, and I've been intrigued by it for years, but I have a Wii, but I rarely use it. But I have a Wii, and of course I have a computer. I can play it on there too, probably. But is it fun? Because if it is, I might download it and play it. If it's fun, if I can get it for my Mac. Anyway, so that's that question. Next question is social networking. Pardon me, sorry. Social networking. Well, this is a good one because if you're listening to me here on Spreaker, you probably are someone who's part of a social networking group, right? Someone who is part of Spreaker anyway. And someone who's part of probably Facebook and part of all of those things. And I guess the question is really, do you think that social networking has ruined society? Do you think social networking has, do you think it's ruined society? Do you think that social networks are good for society? This is how I see it. I think social networking can be used very positively, obviously. And it can be used it can be seen in a very negative light as well. Obviously, if you are somebody who's using social networking to communicate with your family, your friends, whatever, share pictures, whatever, fine, whatever. Find people from your past, sure, great. But when it comes to It can be utilized for bullying people and for causing racism and homophobia, and all the negative dark side of humanity comes out, in my opinion, on social networking and the internet in general, especially on Spreaker, BTR, talk shows, radio, television, even just entertainment in general, but specifically like Facebook and places like that, or social networks like BTR or whatever. These kinds of things actually do contribute to negativity because people feel safe behind their screen. They feel safe because they're in their home, and the things that most people would say to you on a social network, they would never say to you in person. They would say it to you only if they knew they were either A, anonymous, or B, you didn't know who they were or where they lived. They would do that and feel that, it's okay. So that's, a lot of the issue with people today that I have encountered on social networking, because they do absolutely act as if they're invincible. And the great thing is nobody's invincible, and anybody can be found, especially through their IP addresses or through other means. And they absolutely do not, what am I trying to say? Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Kim Boggle says, in the wrong hands, like anything else, social media can be dangerous. Yes, of course. And I think that's what I'm saying. So I think it's a bad thing. I think ultimately, is it ruining our society? No, not necessarily. But I think that it's definitely changed the dynamics of society. Whereas when I was in the 80s and the early 90s, before I got I had a computer, but before I got on the internet or whatever, the society was different. You would call people up, you want to talk to them, you'd call them on the phone. I was always on the phone, always talking on the phone before the internet, right? Before social networks or whatever. And I was always talking. And I would write letters. Remember letters? People actually used to sit down and actually write a letter by hand, longhand, and actually write it out and actually communicate through people. And you'd actually wait to get letters from people, or people, you have to wait for people to get your letter. You'd send cards to people. You would actually interact with people in a different fashion and in a human way. You'd have a human connection that's now missing, I think, to a great extent through social media. I think social media has sucked that out of most of us, and a lot of us in a lot of ways. I think you have to work at it to maintain your humanity online. And I'm not trying to brag, and I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect or that I'm somehow just better than everybody else. But I have made a concerted effort ever since I've been on the internet, even in the beginning, to maintain my humanity, because I'm a nice individual. I'm kind. I like people, whatever, generally speaking. And so I'm not somebody who goes after people and is rude or mean or evil to people just for that sake. I'm not mean to people unless they're mean to me, basically. And I have good interpersonal skills. I have good. I'm a humane individual, and so. I don't think everybody tries to do that. I think people just allow themselves to get swept up into this world, this fake world, really, that exists online of social media, and communicate in a way as if they are invincible, and really they aren't, or as if they're no longer human, and just go after people because they want to, or they're evil or mean or whatever. So, and I really have no respect for that either. I have no respect for people who behave that way in that manner. And I do everything I can to squelch them and make them go away. And I always call them out on their bullshit. So I'm proud of myself for that. Okay. So we have talked about media, entertainment, science, technology, sex and gender, health and medicine. We've talked about religion. Now let's quickly talk about a couple more, see, I'm starting to get tired. A couple more categories, and then we'll call it a day. Politics. We're going to talk politics real quick and see what your thoughts are on politics. All right, so politics. So with politics, we're talking about, I want to talk about concealed handguns, the death penalty, the drinking age, illegal immigration, and just politics in general, I guess. But first, let's start with concealed handguns real quick. Let's talk about that. Let me get a drink. Excuse me. So, concealed handguns. Do you think that everybody should have a right to carry a gun? Do you think, first of all, A, that our Constitution, do you think that it guarantees us the right to carry arms or bear arms or whatever it says? Do you think that that's true? That's what it means. And B, do you think it's right that people should be able to carry handguns to protect themselves or whatever. Do you or do you not agree with those things? Excuse me. Anybody out there? Anybody? Because I think that the Constitution, I'm not personally sure that the Constitution actually guarantees us the right to bear arms in the way that people think it does, or the way they say it does these days, or the way the NRA paints the picture. I think that it was talking about the militia and talking about that we're right to bear arms up against other armies. I do not think that it means that we necessarily have the right to bear arms personally, but that's the way it's been interpreted by everybody for so long. So I will go along with that. So yeah, we have the right with it. Fine, whatever. Okay, so we have the right to carry guns, and I think that we do have the right to protect ourselves, and I think that it's perfectly legal to do that. But do you think that sometimes gun ownership is? Don't you think that it's too easy? You know, you can just go to Walmart or whatever and buy guns or whatever. Don't you think it should be more difficult to buy something that's made to kill other people? Ken Boggle says, I think the Constitution does give us that right, but that was written in a different time. No longer do we have to carry weapons. Yes, I agree with you, Ken Boggle. And I think that I agree with that very much so. That's what I was trying to get at too. But do you think that, I think it's so easy to get a gun. You can go to a private gun show and bypass any kind of background check, wherever state you're in. And you could be somebody who's completely crazy or have a murder rap on you. You've gotten out of prison, or you could be a violent offender of some sort. So I think that it's ridiculous that it's harder to get a car license than it is to get a license to carry a gun. It's just ridiculous. So that's another thing that's a dichotomy to me that makes no sense, just like the prostitution thing versus pornography. Why is it, that carrying a gun shouldn't require thorough background checks, thorough training on weapons? And also, what about a psychological exam? They don't require that. For God's sakes, they should. You're giving somebody the right to carry a fucking gun that can kill other people, and you're just giving to people based on their word that they have no, psychological problems. Come the fuck on. So I don't necessarily like that at all. The next one is the death penalty. I am not somebody who believes in the death penalty. I think that it's wrong to kill people. I think that it's wrong because you can, unless this is the only thing I have to say, I guess, unless you're absolutely 100% sure that the person that you are killing in the death penalty is guilty, because you have abundant evidence through DNA, through eyewitness testimony, through everything else, or maybe even video cameras showing them in the act. In those cases, I might be okay with the death penalty to some degree, because I think that you take a life, maybe you should get one taken from you. But I also, on the other hand, don't think that's right to take people's lives. So I'm a little torn on that side of the thing. But that's the reason I don't necessarily agree with death penalties, because you can never know for sure unless you know for sure. So unless it's an absolute, I don't think that people should be murdered or killed by the state or any state if it's not absolutely known and sure that they were guilty for doing whatever they're accused of having done, So that's what I think about that. And then the drinking age. Oh, this is another fucking stupid one. The drinking age. I mean, okay. So should the drinking age be lowered from 21 to a younger age, like maybe 18? Like in Europe, they have most people can drink at 16 years old legally, depending on the country or whatever. And in the United States, we're so puritanical, whatever. And so drinking you're relegated to your 21 years old. It was 18, and then it was raised to 21 years and years ago. So I think that it's another misnomer. I think it's another stupid thing to do, I should say, because if you're 18 years old and you're a male, you can serve in the army, or a female, you can serve in the army. You can put your life on the line for your country, but you can't fucking drink. Stupid. Case closed. It should be lowered to 18. Then the last thing would be under politics, just generally Obama as president right now, and how you think he's doing as president of the United States. I think Obama is doing a pretty good job. There's things that I disagree with him on. I think that Obama should actually not bomb Syria. It should not go over there. It should not even start that whole mess. I don't think the United States should be responsible for policing the entire world, although that's sort of been our job since World War II. I think that we shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be in other people's business unless there's a huge human rights issue. Now, there is somewhat of a human rights issue